this is Emmanuel Kim, or E-Man, and we're going to be going over a subject that I think a lot of folks have some difficulty with, and that is 3D sketching. I'm actually going to be breaking this up into 3 segments. I just want to kind of go over some of the basic functionality 3D sketching. Of course, 3D sketching can be used for a number of different things. Weldments and structural items are one area that you can use it in. I've also seen people try to use wires, cables, pipes, and other applications. But before we do any of those things, we just want to get a general idea of how 3D sketching works. Now, for the longest time, you've been able to access your 3D sketching tools by simply going to your sketch toolbar, and on the pull down for your sketch tool, you'll find 3D Sketch. Now, the most common type of sketch tool that you can use here is going to be your line tool. And I'm going to first look at this tool to kind of talk about some of the general behaviors that you're going to see with the sketch tool. For instance, you're going to see that we have an XY indicator next to my cursor. This is showing me the general direction that we're going to be drawing our lines. Now, for this particular demonstration, I actually have some existing geometry shown here. This is mostly so you can see the relationship of the line that I'm drawing and the object that I'm placing it next to. Just for the folks at home, I wanted to make sure that you'd clearly be able to see the direction I'm drawing different items in. I've also changed the background of my image here to this dark gray. That way you can see all the inference lines that pop up as I'm drawing. What I want to do is I want to draw on my part, and you can see with the XY indicator on my cursor, I can only draw in the XY direction. Now, what you don't want to do is confuse XY with the XY plane. We're not actually specifically drawing or constraining our geometry to a plane. It's just going in the XY direction. If you guys have seen other videos or you know something about 3D sketching, you know that you can change the direction you're drawing your lines by simply hitting the tab button. So if I come over here and hit the tab button, it's going to change the direction of my line. So now I can draw along the YZ plane here. If I hit tab again, now I'm drawing along the XZ. And so you can have a lot of fun with this, but again, you are not constraining the geometry to that plane as you're drawing it. In this example here, I'm just going to create a little handle that's going to be attached to this block. Again, I want to use my line tool and draw that out. This line that I'm going to draw is going to be only in the Y direction. Now, if I do this, I do get a constraint that shows up, and that is constrained in the Y direction. This is really similar to horizontal or vertical, but when you're working with three-dimensional sketching, you've got the X, Y, and Z to work with. So maybe I'm going to have this come down. And notice I'm primarily working in the XY direction right now. So if I hit tab, now I can work in the YZ direction and draw my second line exclusively in the Z direction. Again, I have the constraint showing only in the Z direction, so they're only going to be in that direction. Let me hit tab again. Let's go this way. Let me come back. Now, just so you guys can see this in the YZ plane, but notice if I float my cursor over other geometry, I can actually draw to that entity. So again, just because it says I'm working in the ZX direction doesn't mean I'm constrained to that. I'm just trying to drive that point home because I think that's a thing that confuses a lot of folks. Just because it says it's working in the ZX plane doesn't mean that exclusively works in that plane. So you can actually select other entities, and you can see with the yellow inference lines here that it's actually traversing a volume to get to this point. So when I click on this point here, you can see that there is no constraint on this line forcing it in the Y direction. I'm just going to go ahead and manually apply that. Instead of horizontal and vertical, we have along X, along Y, and along Z. Just to kind of finish up this shape here, you guys can see up here on my sketch toolbar that a number of different sketch entities are not available in the 3D sketching environment. That includes text, ellipses, and the polygon tool, as well as the slot tool. But one tool that's always been available with 3D sketching has been the sketch fillet tool. The sketch fillet tool allows you to come in and just select multiple corners here. You can even pick 2 intersecting lines or arcs, and it'll produce a radius that's tangent to both entities for you. You even have the nice advantage of taking that preview and dragging it around to see exactly what you want your radius to be, or you can actually key in the radius value that you're looking for. Once you're done, you can just hit the green checkbox, and I'll go ahead and add the equal relationship in for you as well as the tangency constraints. We'll go ahead and finish this operation by adding a couple of linear dimensions to fully define this sketch. In this particular instance, we want to use this three-dimensional sketch as a path for a sweep. So there you go, that's a little introduction to 3D sketching. In the next section, we're going to go over some more advanced techniques using the sketch planes.